Hey Reds fans and Razmanites, it is the Razman coming at you via audio with a Reds 2011 season preview audio update. Now, this is the first audio update on cinreds.razmansreality.tumblr.com. I hadn't planned on actually doing one of these until opening day, or I should say opening evening, since we'll be playing in the afternoon on March the 31st. But I just got done watching the Reds on television via spring training in a game which they won 5-1 today over the Cleveland Indians. And I thought, I'm having some camera issues right now, so I can't really do YouTube videos either, so why not just go ahead and update my channel one time with an audio update on this team and go ahead and officially launch cinreds, razmansreality.tumblr.com, and get the launch for that done and talk a little bit about the team, and hopefully I'll be able to come back with a full video on YouTube by next week. So, since we're now 2 weeks away from the regular season, that was another reason that I thought timing was perfect to do this update. And, of course, the Reds finally are being thought of and looked at, and rightfully so, as a winning team once again, as they are the defending National League Central Division champions, winning that title on September 28th of 2010 on a walk-off home run from Jay Bruce. So there is a completely different mentality in Reds camp than there has been in many a year, and the biggest thing is the pitching. For so many years, the Reds had one, maybe two guys, if they were lucky, that were locked for their starting rotation. And then you had about 27, 28, 31, whatever number you want to throw out there, amount of guys that would go after the 3, 4, and 5 positions. Now, the Reds are so deep in starting pitching and bullpen pitching that there's really only 2 spots open. One in the rotation, one in the bullpen, and whatever decision you make, it means that good players are going to end up at the AAA level. So let's start with the starting rotation. Your first 4 guys are really locked. You've got Edison Volquez, who's named the opening day starter, has electric stuff, just a nasty assortment of pitches, and really has that ace mentality and that workhorse mentality, and just hasn't put it all together yet. So the Reds instilling confidence. I mean, he put it together, but hasn't put it together from the beginning of the season on to the end of the season. The Reds obviously feel like this is going to be that year because of what he did in the second half of last year. And so he has been given the ball and will run with the ball on opening day. And then you have a guy coming off a career-high 17-win season a year ago in the division-winning championship season of 2010, Bronson Arroyo. Now, a lot of people thought, why didn't you just give Arroyo the opening day position? And he's clearly the veteran of the rotation. He's the guy that could be a table setter. But I think the reason that you have him as your number 2 guy rather than your number 1 guy is because a lot of times your number 1 guy is a guy who does stuff more via overpowering and nastiness, where you want your number 2 guy to be the guy that goes out there, and if something went wrong on opening day, he can turn around and be a finesse guy and get you a win in that second game. So I think it makes sense for Bronson to be the number 2 guy, and I can understand why the Reds made that decision. Then in your number 3 spot, you have Johnny Cueto, at least on paper, but unfortunately for the Reds, Cueto has been moved temporarily down to the 5 spot in the rotation due to a little tightness and a little stiffness in his back. The Reds don't feel like it's anything serious, but it'll be a couple of 2 or 3 weeks before he sees action because of this injury. So he's temporarily in the 5 spot, but when he's healthy and when he's going right, he's a proven major league superstar type of pitcher, and he is your lock for your number 3 position. And then in your number 4 position, you have Homer Bailey. Homer Bailey, a guy who has been one of the top pitching prospects in Major League Baseball for the last several years, and just for whatever reason, can't put it together for an entire 162 games a season. Same thing that I said about Edison Volquez can be said about Homer Bailey. The difference with Bailey this year is that he had a great second half of the year last year and locked himself down as a major league pitcher. And B, he's out of minor league options. So you really don't have a choice but to put him in that 4 hole, otherwise you're going to lose him. So that's why the Reds made the decision they made on paper. But on the field this year in spring training, Homer Bailey has actually been arguably the Reds' most consistent pitcher game in and game out, with guys having tightness and other things that you have in spring training. Homer Bailey has been the most consistent Red on the mound. So I'm not a bit worried about Homer Bailey. Homer Bailey, in my opinion, is a lock. So that means that you have a battle for the number 5 position between 2 guys who really proved themselves last year. First guy is Mike Leake. Of course, came right out of Arizona State University in 2009, was the Reds' number 1 overall draft pick in 2010, made the club in 2010, and ended up going 7-1 in the first part of the year, and was no doubt about it the Reds' best pitcher for the first half of the season. Then what you would expect to happen happened. Because he's so young, because he had no minor league experience, he ran into a physical wall, and the Reds had to shut him down, and he never really made an appearance after the month of August. So you have him battling with a guy by the name of Travis Wood. Travis Wood, a tremendous young left-handed pitcher, reminds me so much of Greg Maddux. Actually, him and Leake both do. And the fact that they are the kind of guys that you can see being around for 20, 25 years at the major league level, because they're pitchers. They're not throwers. They're pitchers. They will change speeds. They have 4 or 5 pitches, each one of them, that they will give you. You won't know what's coming. And they just keep hitters off balance. And Wood is just a step ahead of Leake as far as age, so you can stretch out his arm a little bit more. And who can also forget last year in 2010, Wood had a game against the Philadelphia Phillies in which he threw 7 innings of no-hit baseball. And not just no-hit baseball, but perfect game baseball. So he has superstar potential, without a doubt. So it's really going to come down to Wood and Leake as far as who gets that 5 spot. And just based on spring training numbers, Leake hasn't looked strong this year as he did a year ago. So I think the Reds are going to have to go with Travis Wood. And the other advantage that Travis Wood has over Mike Leake right now is the fact that he's a lefty. And the Reds, if they went with Leake, would have 5 right-handed starters. You throw a lefty in there, it can make all the difference in the world as far as being able to counteract what guys do in the lineup, giving meaning other teams, giving them different things to look at from a pitching standpoint. So I think Travis Wood is a lock. So that means that Mike Leake, the question then becomes, what do you do with him? Do you send him down to AAA? And if you do, does that mess up with his psyche, seeing as how he came right into the big leagues, was a big league starter? Or do you use him out of the bullpen? Is he the kind of guy that can adjust and be a bullpen guy? And the problem with that this year is the Reds have another guy in camp by the name of Dontrelle Willis, who, of course, was a big pitcher for the Marlins a number of years ago, was Rookie of the Year, ran into some arm troubles, went to Detroit, was absolutely pathetic, but he has come back from, I believe it's Tommy John surgery, don't quote me on that, but he had some kind of arm surgery and is making a comeback from that, and he's been very, very effective in Reds camp this year as a non-roster invitee. So, if he makes the club, the Reds would have to make a move off their 40-man roster, which would guarantee him a major league spot, and would subsequently make him that long relief guy that Leake would be. So, right now, Leake is looking like a AAA guy, not necessarily because he needs to be one, just simply because of numbers game. So, the other question the Reds have from a pitching standpoint is they have one spot open in their bullpen. Does it go to Dontrelle Willis to give you that long relief guy? Does it go to Mike Leake, possibly, if something happens in the next 2 weeks and they just don't want to send Leake down to AAA? Does he become that long relief guy? Or do you go with another guy in the middle that has really nasty stuff? And if you do, it's a toss between Jordan Smith and another guy that they've had some experience with in the past and are trying to really see if he can be the kind of pitcher that they want him to be, and Jarrett Burton. So you've got Jordan Smith and Jarrett Burton really battling each other out for the same spot in the bullpen. And that is it. That is how solid the Reds are in pitching this year. No moves had to be made other than the one that was made to make Dontrelle Willis a non-roster invite. He got him for dirt cheap. So the Reds are pitching rich. Just pitching rich. And then you talk about the position players. And really the club is set except for left field. You want to have a second guy to complement in left field with Johnny Gomes, because Johnny Gomes is a little bit suspect with his glove, and you're going to need a platoon type situation there sometimes. So it's between Freddie Lewis, who they picked up from Toronto a year ago, and a guy by the name of Jeremy Hermida, who is most famous for his time with the Florida Marlins as a young sensation there on that team a number of years ago. And they're both left-handed. And I think the advantage that Fred Lewis has right now is just the fact that he is a burner. He is an absolute burner, and when he's in lineup, he gives you speed in the left field position to complement either Drew Stubbs, or if Stubbs is getting a day off, Chris Heisey, because Heisey is the guy that will play center and play right. Was a tremendous guy last year, came on and just locked down the fact that he is major league ready. And then, of course, because it's spring training, you have a few guys that open your eyes up that necessarily weren't on your radar to start the year, but now are pushing the major league door down very, very soon, and probably second half of the year or by next year will be on your big league roster. And for the Reds this year, it's an outfielder by the name of Tony Chappelle, who has just torn the cover off the ball, and a catcher by the name of Devin Mesorasto, who was the number one draft pick back in 2005, right out of high school, had some iffy years, but finally put it together last year, was the Reds AAA player this year, and he has just absolutely been, excuse me, no, that was Dave Chappelle. Actually, that was the Reds AAA player a year ago. But Mesorasko has just hit the cover off the ball, and he is a good receiver. Knows what he's doing behind the plate, has made some great blocks all spring training long. He definitely isn't going to get playing time over Ramon Hernandez or Ryan Hennigan, who have solidified themselves. But Mesoraco, I think, is definitely a superstar in the making and a player that I'm very excited about. So keep those names in mind, Major League fans, Reds fans especially, Dave Chappelle and Devin Mesoraco. You're going to be hearing a lot from those two guys as the years go on. So, again, such a different mentality this year with the club. You know what you're going to get. The guys come in and they believe they're going to win. They're going to have the mindset to be winners all year long. And the guy we haven't even talked about, and we're almost out of time, because I have a 20-minute time limit on Tumblr. Don't have that on YouTube, but on Tumblr I do. But a guy that we're just now getting ready to talk about toward the end of this update is Joey Votto. Joey Votto, of course, is the reigning NL MVP. Just an absolutely amazing season a year ago. Third in batting average, third in home runs, and was a triple crown contender pretty much right up until the final week of the season. And it was down to him, Albert Pujols, and Alex Gonzalez of the Colorado Rockies for who would win the NL MVP, and Votto got the nod, deservingly so, because his team was the team that made the playoffs. And I think he is a guy that's just going to get better and better and better, and he's got Jay Bruce alongside him. They both signed long-term deals. And those guys are going to be just, the ceiling is limitless for them. And it's just such an exciting time to be a Reds fan right now. And in the next update on March 31st, the guy that I'm really going to focus on, because I'm going to run out of time here that I can't really talk about it in this update. But in the next edition here at CinReds, RazMansReality.tumblr.com, we are going to talk about Yonder Alonso and the problems that the Reds have. How do you make room for this guy? He is major league ready, but he can't seem to want to play another position. And you certainly can't have him play first base when you have Joey Votto. So we're going to address the Yonder Alonso situation next time. In the meantime, I really hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, if you don't know how to do it here on Tumblr, just please email me at razmansreality@gmail.com. Or if you're watching this particular edition on YouTube, you can simply leave a comment and I will answer that in the next edition. I hope you enjoyed it, and go Battling Red Legs. Let's get another division title in 2011, and let's expand on it all the way to the World Series, just like the 2007 Philadelphia Phillies did, winning the division title in 2007 and going on to win the World Series in 2008. This is reality according to the Razman. And Razman style, it's not just a catchphrase, but a way of life.